So vegans will often sit, if you look at the Claire Graves spiral dynamics model, they'll sit in green, right? Which is effectively, so it's a vertical model, right? So it's like level 1, 2. Initially it was called Graves 1, 2, 3, etc. So it goes beige, purple, red, blue, orange, green. That's all first tier of the spiral, and then above that is yellow, turquoise, which is second tier, and then third tier, which is coral, and no one knows. Not even Jim Carrey is at coral, right? So no one knows what coral is.
Well, how did we know it's there?
Yeah, right. It's the next level. So if those that were approaching blue at some point were aware that there was a color past blue, right? They just didn't know, or a level rather.
Gotcha.
They just didn't know what it was because no one was there.
Gotcha.
So it'd be ignorant to think that that was the last level. Anyway, so this is the Graves model, right? And so the first tier finishes at green. Now a lot of vegans are actually in green, right?
Because of the plants.
Because of the plants. So a lot of them, they're thinking it goes as far as the colours are concerned. There's warm colours and cool colours. And so the cool colours are all we space, right? So in blue, that's where religion was born. It's a we space, so to speak. It's called truth force. Whereas the me space is all the warm colours. And so orange is actually where entrepreneurial sort of was born, on enterprise. You know, that was kind of came out of the Industrial Revolution where they're like, I'm sick of working for the man, which was very blue, right? And then green became, hang on a sec, we've got to look after the globe and we have to look after ecology and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, now it's making sense. Yeah.
And so that's where the evolution of our species can kind of be seen in that process as well. So the interesting thing about the green though is that sometimes an unhealthy green falls into the trap of, I'm better than you because I'm here, right? They can fall into the trap of like, you're not as good because you don't think what I think, and I've done all the research, right?
Yeah.
Whereas those that move into...
I'm exactly the same, but with a different conclusion.
So there's a certain level of green within that, but it could even be seen as blue. Like there's one true way to do it.
Yeah.
Now moving into yellow sees the whole spiral from that point. They're like on the second tier. So you can imagine an auditorium. They're like first tier. You ever sit at the movies and then you look back, you're like, fuck, there's way more people than I thought.
Yeah.
Right? But everyone at the top can look down.
Yeah.
And so they're on the second tier, and so they can see the whole spiral below them, but they can't see turquoise. They're aware it's there.
Yeah.
But the thing with yellow is that they stop being in this place of I'm better than you because of my views. And it starts to be more in this space of I can respect your views. My search is more of a personal development, worldly view, right? And they see themselves as a part that's integrated into the actual world.
That's more me.
That sounds like you, but that's probably your ego speaking, right? Now you might be more down near beige.
Rip.
That's the thing with the vertical model. A vertical model of anything like that, people get offended. I'm not saying you did then. You're not a vegan, but no, people get offended because what happens is that they're like, oh, you're a higher level or you're that. Whereas the best way to look at it is that vertical models it's so similar to horizontal models, but it just allows us to go, where does it feel right for me to sit on this, and what makes sense to me, and what's emerging through to me, and the easiest way to sort of figure it out is like, what have I mastered so far? Like people that want to move from green to yellow, like, and if they're poor, for example, like it doesn't have to be like rich, but if they're not money conscious, as in know how to develop it, because money is just energy, right? Money is literally just energy. It's a trade of energy. Money used to be, I'll give you 2 sheep for a cow, right? That was I traded this energy for that energy, right? And I'll give you my energy if you give me things that I can use this money to go buy food, which is energy for me to eat. So money is just energy, and so mastering that allows us to almost understand orange. But you get people that are in this green space that have issues with this orange space, and they don't realize to really unravel themselves and their potential is to actually master that, not to reject it. But yeah, anyway, conversation started. Vegans often sit in that green space, and sometimes they get in trouble of being, well, I'm better than you because I've done the research. And if a vegan that is so like that watching this would be like, yeah, but I have done the research. And it's very interesting in that realm, as opposed to seeing that there is no truth. I mean, that's a loose statement, I get it, but in many areas it's like, this is a truth, right? And so, yeah, it's very, very fascinating stuff.
Well, like that's where my because I was vegetarian for a little while, like 6 or 8 months, about that. Never went vegan, glad I didn't. But like, I doing this fucking carnivore thing. It's like I have a reference of comparison.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like when people are vegans, there's almost no way that they've done carnivore before they've done vegan.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not really because I've done keto, high fat, high carb, veggie, which was like high carb, high carb,
Yep.
and then carnivore. So I'm like, I've explored a lot of options, and I feel fucking great on this. And I like eating steak and fucking eggs every day.
Sure. It's also being conscious and aware of our own unconscious bias, right? And if we can become aware of that, and this is one of the things when I do work with people, when I do coaching with them, what I have to really be conscious of is do I have an unconscious bias to my response or my question? Am I subconsciously leading them to an answer that I want them to get to, right? And so going into all those things, I've tried this, I've tried that, I've tried that, but did you go into each one with the exact same open frame of mind, right? And that's really hard. I'm not saying like, oh, did you do that? Come on, man, give the vegans a go. I've got no qualms with that. Like people do that and they do it for good reasons, but it's like a penis. You can be proud of it. Just don't put it in my face. Like it's really simple, right? Keep that shit hidden away. And I won't sponsor this on Facebook, but I'll probably still share it. But what I'm getting at with that is like there's no like we can be respectful of many different ways, and the issue is that the way that we continue to unravel is through self-education and love, and we can't do that if I'm hating on you. Because if I'm hating on you...
Because I put my dick in your face.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't... It's like, please, Sean, no, please remove the phallus. We don't realise that by hating, I'm only hating myself.
Elaborate on that.
We often only dislike things that we either A, know that we are capable of, or B, because we ourselves... see a reflection of ourselves in those actions, right? Even if it was a previous, how can I explain?
Phallus waving incident.
A previous habit of my own, right? That I struggle with, and then you do. You shouldn't do that, and that's why a lot of the people.
You're saying that to yourself,
right? Yeah.
You know you shouldn't do that.
Absolutely, right? And that's why a lot of people will try to control things. Because they're or other people, because it's much easier to control other people than it is to control ourselves. Yeah. And so, it's the whole hating negativity thing all over again. It's like, do you realize you're being negative about negativity, right? It's the whole idea that sadness is bad, not realizing that when we think that sadness is bad, then that actually becomes bad in a way, because we start rejecting that emotion as if it's bad. And that we shouldn't put it on social media. It just is. It is telling you something that...
Everything just is.
Everything, exactly right.
Whether it's good or bad is up to your perception of it.
If you're frustrated, like irritable, confused, a lot of the time we associate this to being something that's bad. But we don't see it as a part of learning.
Yeah.
Like before...
They're all parts of learning.
Before we have a breakthrough, we're often confused. Yeah. Right? And if we're irritable, something's not sitting right. And it doesn't, we can sit here and go, that person makes me angry. Not realizing that person doesn't make you angry, because where do you feel anger? You feel it in here.
Well,
you don't feel anger out there.
But it's like, that's what I find really interesting about like how, and this is like coming into some Jordan Peterson stuff now, about like the depths of, it's probably more, so the way that your emotions can be influenced by outside forces speaks to like it's happening beneath, like further down in your consciousness than your actual like
awareness.
Logic, reasoning, awareness type stuff. It's like, if that makes you angry, I can say to you that makes me angry. It's like, but it's not making me angry, it's making something in me angry, and that's fucking...
You're experiencing anger because of something.
Yeah.
Why is that? That's the inquiry, right?
Yeah.
So inquiry starts with the word in, and there's a reason why it starts with the word in. Same with insight.
In question.
Yeah. Right? Because we have to go in to figure that out. And so we are not angry, we experience anger.
We're angry.
Right, angry. Yes. We experience anger. We experience happiness. It's a passing emotion. It is not us, and we should not identify as that emotion. Now, what's really fascinating about the idea of you make me angry, it's straight away if we go, you have initiated a emotion in me, right? You cannot control my emotions. What that tells you, and a lot of people don't like this and they argue it and whatever, go for it, but is that I don't have very good emotional intelligence.
You don't?
Well, that's if you make me angry. It's saying I don't have control of my emotions.
Ah, yeah, I get you now.
Right?
I was like, you don't? Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
get you.
but that's what it is. People think
Yeah.
emotional intelligence is understanding you, not realizing that emotional
Understanding you.
intelligence is understanding me, right? And for you, it's understanding you.
Understanding you?
Yeah.
Understanding.
I cannot understand you until I understand myself. And when I understand myself, I see all my flaws. And when I do that, I see your behaviors. I'm like, who am I to judge? And that's a really big difference, right? And so emotional intelligence, it's not outintelligence, right? And so it's really, really crucial that people recognize that you don't control my emotions. I can blame you, but what happens then is that I become a puppet. Is that every single time X person does something that I get pulled that way, and now I'm upset and offended. And this is where it becomes dangerous, and this is the whole Kathy Newman and Jordan Peterson debate of like, what's your right of, effectively free speech, compared to that right of a trans person's, not to be offended. It's like, because you risk offending by talking with everything. If I sat, and this is a difference between definition and meaning. If I sat down, and I have a room of 100 kids in year 6, right? They're 10 years old. Let's say they're 10 years old.
I can kick more on the head because they're annoying.
Probably won't do that. So, if I had 100 10-year-olds, the definition of dad is all the same. The definition, right? The meaning, right, that each one of them has is going to be different. The emotional attachment to each one of those kids has to that name. Yeah, to that word and the person that's associated with that. And this goes back onto the conversation we said before, is like we learn to look at things in the world not as they are, but as they are to us. Right? So it's not a chair, it's a seat. It's the
something you can do. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like if I showed you a car without an engine, I'm like, this is my car. You're like,
it's not. It's a fucking.
It's a shell.
Yeah.
It's no longer a car because it can't car. Right. It's like if a chair can't seat. Right.
Like when Ralph Wiggum's got the fucking basket at the Easter egg hunt, and he picks the egg up, puts it in the basket, it falls through, and then because there's a hole in the bottom of the basket, and he picks it up. It's not actually a basket.
It's not a basket,
not a
right?
basket.
Because it's not useful for that. So we often
fucking stupid tangent.
It's the example, right? So this is what I was saying before. Like it's using examples to understand things is actually really crucial because it allows us to go even further and further and further. And so I said before about you are not angry. You experience anger, right? And when we can see it arise, and within the Enneagram, so the Enneagram is a personality type test that I use, that I recommended. If I do any one-on-one coaching, that's what I do. I talk about it heaps in my podcasts. When I do my seminars, that's what everyone does beforehand. And it can show you your personality type over 9 types. It's not like this is what you are. It's like these is where you score over 9 types. And when you first do the test, you're like, oh wow, that's really fascinating. You've done it, right? And you're like, oh, that's really interesting. I align with most of what they're saying, is usually what people will say. But unless you're an individualist, by the way, type 4. Individualist is like, they won't understand me, I'm so special. And they finish it, and then it says that like it's so like them that they think they're special. They're like, ah! Every time I've spoken to individualists, it's hilarious. But so the 9 types, right, it actually really unfolds into this both horizontal and vertical model of understanding oneself. Now, what we need to understand about personalities is that you read that and you got a type 7, which is the enthusiast, correct?
Enthusiast, challenger, investigator, achiever.
Yep. Cool. So type 7, type 8, and then you got type 5.
Peacemaker down the bottom.
Peacemaker down the bottom.
So
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. So and the enthusiast, a healthy enthusiast in business is like Elon Musk, whereas the unhealthy enthusiast is someone who's scattered and gets angry really quickly and kind of can blame on other people and all that sort of stuff, right? And because I'm a type 7, type 8, type 2. And that's the same thing for myself. But what we need to understand is that you are not that personality, right? So if you can imagine it, this glass, right? Let's say this glass had water in it. Okay, so if this glass had water in it, and somebody goes, "What do I have?" I'm like, "I have some water." It's like, I don't. I have a cup that has water. So we need to understand that we're the cup, and that the water is our personality.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
So we are not our personality. We are not the anger that we experience. We are not our job. We are not any of those things. We're the thing that experiences that. And when we can realize that, then we can tip out the water and we can do whatever we want to do with it. Right? We may have a default that we want water in that cup, but once we let go of being the water, we can learn to adapt and let ourselves be, rather than thinking about how we expect to show up in the world. Now, the importance of that is like this quote. I can't think who said it, but it's like, I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who I think you think I am, right?
Yeah.
And so then people live their whole life going, I'm going to assume who you think I am, and I'm going to be that person. I did it. I was like, I have to uphold a particular identity in the fitness space to be respected. Who the fuck came up with that? This guy did. That I thought you needed me to be like that in order to be... And it's the same as going, what would you like me to wear so that you could like me more? No, don't tell me.
dick.
Don't tell me. I'm just going to assume. Right? And it's just like... And then I'll go do that, and then I'm like, do you like me yet? And so many people are doing this. And it doesn't mean that I don't do it. I'm like, oh, I'm doing that thing again. Right? And it's just bringing it from back here, subconscious, or the unconscious, if you want to call it, into the awareness, recognize it, let it go, and move on. So there's lots in that, hey?
Chats.
Like that's the thing. How far do we want to unravel this thing? And that's the beauty of it. But my main point being, vegans are green.
Very good.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got there in the end. Good shit.
Should we kill that one?
Yeah, let's go that one.